Look, I don't want to tell you you're doing it wrong, but you're doing it wrong. When you are engaged in a conversation and you end up over talking somebody, you are cutting the knees out from underneath your credibility and you're pissing off the other person. Guys, I wanted to share this experience with you because I think it's so important. Connecting is an art form. So is conversation. Being able to understand how to find your rhythm, to speed up or slow down, to ensure that you're finding that cadence to have a conversation is really critical. And what I have actually found is there is this crazy amount of people out there that just have absolutely no perception that they talk too much, that they don't give the other person an opportunity to comment or interject, or if the other person is talking and they think of something right then and there, they got to apply it and they got to say it, and it doesn't matter what happens on the other end, how the other person perceives it. They have to have verbal diarrhea all over the conversation plate. I know that's a graphic example that probably isn't very appetizing whenever you're seeing that. However, it's important for you to understand that. There are situations where in a brainstorming engagement, maybe everybody's encouraged to throw ideas out on the table. That's appropriate. But when you have one-on-one conversation in person or over Zoom, especially over Zoom, this becomes a problem. You need to ask yourself, do I find myself cutting people off, interjecting my thoughts in the middle of someone else's sentence? Do I often not even have the social awareness and the acuity to know that I'm probably annoying the crap out of someone? I think this is an important aspect for you to look at because I promise you, if you're doing it, you are annoying the living crap out of the other person. And you are costing yourself credibility. You are costing that relationship any possibility of really building, evolving, growing, because nobody wants to talk to you when you are like that. I have a coaching client that I'm working with that has an employee that does this continually. And no matter what is being said, their thoughts are a priority. They have no semblance of understanding that what they're doing is crushing their credibility with the people that they work with, including this boss. And so they came to me and said, how do you deal with this? It's tough because we are cultured now to be not very well trained at hearing what somebody else is saying, listening what other people are saying, understanding it, and being thoughtful in our response. We are a society that will fire off a tweet, because we can, or will respond or react on social media because we can. And what I'm seeing is that this has cultured our behavior in conversation to spin up whatever we want to say right then and there. Everybody else be damned, right? It's a tough situation because it has become an inherent habit for a lot of people. So it is something that compromises them, their ability to collaborate, their ability to truly engage, to have productive conversations, and to not piss everybody else off. So my recommendation to them was to sit them down and say, I don't want you to say anything until I'm completely done, and I'll let you know when it's your time to talk. That sets the expectation right there. Now, does it make it feel a little uncomfortable? Because, it could be perceived as punitive. Yes. Is this a problem that is probably costing you employee satisfaction? Absolutely. Is it probably costing you business because customers or potential customers get annoyed by that person doing the same thing to them? Absolutely. Is it a life skill that you absolutely need to step up to the plate to teach this person? If you don't, who will? Right? So what do you have to lose? Because at the end of the day, it is like nails on a chalkboard for most people when people can't pick up the social clues to stop talking or to stop over talking someone, or that you've interrupted and you've annoyed them, and now the conversation will never get back on track. All they want to do is end it. So I informed this particular client that it was an imperative conversation that needed to happen. And the best way to do that was to set the expectation. I don't know if you're aware you're doing this. I don't know if you have such enthusiasm for what's happening in the moment, but I need you to figure out how to pause yourself. Whether that is some sort of, like I always tell people, when you need to center yourself or you need to remind yourself something, find a little thing. I do this little thumb between my index finger and my thumb between my other, the webbing of my other thumb as a reminder. Patience, Steve. Quiet, Steve. Listen, Steve. Pay attention to what's being said so that you can have a thoughtful response, Steve. Don't cut the other person off, Steve. Stop wanting to talk, Steve. Slow everything down in here. And helping someone recognize that this is actually something that is causing conflict. Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody really wants to come across as being the jerk. But you, as their leader, have to take this into account as to how it's working against the mojo of the team. And it's probably working against them in other aspects of their life. Oftentimes, when you point it out to people that this is happening, they don't even realize it. They're like, oh my God, I had no idea. Yes, here's a recommendation. Heard it from this great Ripple guy. Come up with a way that you're holding yourself accountable by holding yourself accountable. And remind yourself in every conversation, no matter where it is, that you have to make sure that we create a safe space for the conversation to take place. That even with we're enthusiastic and we're excited about what's being talked about and we got plenty of ideas that we want to share, your ideas are one of many, or at least one of two. And the other person needs to know that they have a safe space to communicate and have this conversation. If you can do that, you will improve your communication so much. But if you continue to overtalk, you're going to overtalk your way probably out of, any credibility, probably out of the next deal, probably out of your job. Something to think about. Not that I gave that feedback per se to my coaching client, but if it doesn't change, what else? What other choice do you have, right? But at the end of the day, helping that person understand what's going on and why this is working against them could be the best advice and guidance that you could give them as a leader. But coming back to you, me, we have to all be reminded that there is a process, a dance, a delicate dance when we have conversations. People get easily distracted. People get easily offended. People get easily annoyed. So we want to make sure that our conversations that take place are taking place in the best possible scenarios. And the one way that you can ensure that it at least gets on the right track is to not overtalk somebody, not let somebody finish a thought. Be mindful in how you interject when you do and say, look, could I interject one thing? Could I share one thought? Do you mind if were you complete? Were you done with what you were just saying? Because I have a few thoughts I'd like to share with you. But be mindful of it. Come across as intentional. Not like, I gotta tell you what. Yeah, don't do that. I don't know what I just did there, but it wasn't good. And I promise you will not do well for you in conversation. Something to think about. Go out there, make a difference in the world. Make a difference in someone's life. You make a difference in your own life by doing that. And as always, ripple on.